Hi, I'm Daming, and today I'm going to talk about what adults can learn from kids. So it's quite strange, this question. So just a few weeks ago, one of my teachers told the whole class that Pong is the first video game ever. So then I told him that he was wrong, and the first video game ever was called a cathode ray tube amusement device. And then he didn't even answer me. I was so frustrated of the false truth that he was telling the whole class that it leads to this question. What can adults learn from kids? So what do adults really learn from kids though? If I would go back to that situation with my teacher, I would tell him about what I know about the history of video games and show him what I know. So I'm going to talk about 3 things that greet us at the beginning of the 21st century, except for innovation and knowledge, are war, terrorism, and violence, the major problems in the world currently. And who's in charge now? Adults! So in Wikipedia, adults said that terrorism is the use of violence and threats to intimidate and coerce. It was so boring that I have to shorten it into its simplest form. Terrorism is the use of violence to reach a political purpose, and the same with war. And war is the conflict between 2 sides, and violence is to hurt something or someone. As the great scientist Albert Einstein said, make it to its simplest form, but no simpler. And these are 3 examples of adults and why they shouldn't be in charge, but we should. So Gulliver's Travel, great story. So when in part 1, Gulliver met the country of Lilliputians, little people who are the size of babies and really small. They look like babies too, but they have the mind of adults. So they still have war. They have war with their neighbor, Blefuscian something. And it's a war for eternity. Just to reach power, just to have power and land. I mean, like, why? Why do you need land and power when you can live peacefully with your people? And the second example is a very tragic one. On September 11, 4 planes hijacked by the terrorist group Al Qaeda crashed into some of the most important buildings in the United States. 2 crashed into the Twin Towers, making it to collapse, and it affects other buildings too. And the whole downtown Manhattan was covered in dust and debris. The third one crashed into the Pentagon in Virginia, the National Security Department of the United States, and it really affects the whole nation. The fourth one, which was supposed to hit the Capitol in Washington, D.C., crashed into an empty field in Pennsylvania while the passengers tried to overthrow the hijackers. Almost 3,000 people, including children, innocent people, died that day. So last year I was enjoying my ordinary Friday walking toward my home, and then when I took out my iPad, I saw breaking news. Paris was attacked by a terrorist group called IS. It was shocking for that France was still was neutral since the Second World War, and now suddenly a bunch of people attacked like public areas where people were enjoying their ordinary Fridays with their families. 129 innocent people died that day, and the survivors, they still recall their memory was haunting and truly like a slaughterhouse. And who's in charge of this thing again? Adults. Why can't adults live peacefully? And why does adults have to be so prejudiced? We, the children, care nothing about war, religion, and skin color. We just open our hearts. We don't use conflicts, while adults think that a conflict will always solve the problem. And the results are conflicts make the problems worse. So, are we supposed to be instruments of peace? Because we are humans. We've evolved. We are smart. We have our brain, complex structures that can think reasonably, that is reasonable. But why can't we be instruments of peace? Why do adults have to be like this? And why does those three things greet us at the beginning of the 21st century? And if you want something to look at, to look up to, and solve your problems, what will it be? A child. Children. Unlike adults, we are innocent and naive. We don't really think about anything, and we open our hearts. We know how to live fully, and we're happy all the time. We forgive each other easily. That's why when me and my brother, we were having a discussion about a few things, that this is my side of the room and that is his side of the room, and after just like a few minutes we forgive each other and play again. And the last thing is that we dream big. Because we dream big, we have great expectations and imagination, in which well, I once have a dream of like having a big library, and then there's a portal that can teleport me anywhere and into the books that I read. Maybe you had great dreams before, but when you grew up to be an adult, and when adults, your parents and teachers and uncles have low expectations, maybe you sink into it and say that, well, it doesn't benefit me and stuff, and then you become an adult forever. So adults shouldn't always be in charge of everything. Maybe maybe little kids, with their big brains and big minds, and with their big imagination, they should help scientists too to imagine. Because when you don't have imagination, you think that this thing is impossible, while we think that nothing is impossible. I think that learning between us, between the two sides, should be reciprocal. And if we combine together, we would make a great team to make Earth a better place. So why don't you, adults, learn from us kids? Thank you.